Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it happens to be for you. What I'm going to do for the next few minutes is I'm going to share the information with you that I wish someone had shared with me when I first became involved with micro enterprise. And the first thing that I wish that I had been taught was exactly what was the target. What specifically and exactly was I seeking to create? And now today I understand it with clarity. What I'm seeking to create is distribution for a product or service that other people want and need for some reason. That's what we do. It's what I've done now for some 35 years. And in that 35-year period of time, I've created distribution for products of various kinds. We're going to focus today on the things that we can and should do in Lev AI that are very similar or perhaps the same as what I've done for many years. And as we do it, I will point out the reasons that I believe the outcomes can be dramatically different and the reasons that I believe that there are some subtle shifts along the way that we should engage in. The first thing that I want you all to know is that contrary to what is often referenced in this business, is there is no luck and there is no guesswork. There is absolutely and without question a proved and predictable pattern of activities. But let's contemplate and consider what exactly is the target. I tend to go to the target first, having identified the target, then I identify the processes that are required to hit that target. And so, what do we create? What is the target? And I realize I will shortly be home, by the way, where I have my big wall behind me, whiteboard, and there's a pretty good chance this one will tip over while I'm here talking because it's not secured to the easel. Just a little full disclosure on my part. But what exactly do I want to do? And when I said I, because I can't suppose in advance that I know what you want to do. One of the lessons I learned a long time ago is that I only know what I think. I don't know what you think. I only know what I want. I don't know what you want. And I also know that it's not infrequent for a person to be unable to clearly quantify what specifically the target is. So I want you to know what mine is. What I want to do is engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities which has been shown over the course of my entire career to create an ever expanding and potentially limitless web of consumers, buyers, users of a particular product or service. And as a result of setting in motion the cascade of activities, which causes that ever expanding web of users or consumers of the service to grow, to buy and use the products, in our case, a subscription that the company delivers, what we seek to do is create that pattern of activities to the benefit of other people. And as a result, earn royalties ourselves. That is what we do. And so, what is different now? What is different is that over the course of my entire career, I've engaged in that pattern of activities, recognizing that ultimately the only people who would be consuming the product or service were people who likewise embraced the business model that I'm involved in. Why? Because up until this moment in my life, the products that I have represented, always good, have been priced to meet the need of a compensation plan, as opposed to being priced to meet the need of the consumer. And that means that I was relegated to that tiny segment of our society, about 3.5% of the United States society, and a similar percentage of the global society, who have embraced the method of distribution that I've long been involved with, that being the network marketing industry. Multi level marketing was called years ago, recognizing that today we don't want to limit ourselves to that tiny handful of people who have embraced that method of distribution. Quite the contrary. We want to help those people who have embraced that method of distribution and have gathered the knowledge and developed the skills requisite to succeed in it, to now expand our thinking to recognize that what we really want is to engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities, which will create an ever expanding and limitless web of external consumers whose teaching, coaching, and training is provided by that 3 or 4% of people who have developed the skills, gathered the knowledge over the course of the last period of time to make that happen. And so, what's the same? Very, very close to the same is the pattern of activities. What's the changed outcome that we seek? To grow a web of both internal and external consumers, and recognizing that our opportunity is far, far, far greater when we're dealing with the masses of humanity. When Sundar Pichai says that this is um, more profound than fire or electricity, well, it can't be more profound than fire or electricity if we're only appealing to the 3% of people who have embraced what has always been a controversial business model, home-based business network marketing. It can only be bigger than fire or electricity if we're able to if we're able to take the proven and predictable pattern of activities that we have been engaged in, that we've learned many of us how to do, and then cause that to attract an entirely different audience, to still attract the existing audience, but to attract the 97%, to talk about 7 billion people who are potential candidates as opposed to 3% of the US population who would be a potential candidate and a similar percent of the rest of the world. And so, with that said, that's the outcome. I believe in establishing targets. If we have a target, we might hit it. If we don't have a target, then it's pure luck of the draw. I'm always happy when I experience a bit of good luck, but I never count on it and I never anticipate that will happen. And so now, if that's the target, then let's go backwards through the pattern of activities that would create the arrow hitting that target, or that would cause the arrow to hit that target. And as we go through it, reflect upon what are the subtle changes, or in some cases, fairly significant changes that will need to be embraced by a body of people in order to get the outcomes that I want. And that I'm assuming by the fact of your being here with me today, that perhaps you want at least some of the same things that I want. And so it was a gentleman named Nathan Ricks. Rest in peace, Nathan. Nathan has now, he passed away some number of years ago. Well, actually, about 2 years ago, flying his own jet, a jet which he paid for with the results from this pattern of activities. And I want to say this with as much clarity as I can. It is the pattern of activities and the leadership development process which has created my outcome. It's not been any particular product or any particular company or any particular compensation plan. How can I say that? I'm hesitant whenever I refer to my own results, but the absolute fact is that this pattern of activities has resulted in 4 separate situations where organization, I don't even like to use the word I, me, those are bad words. Us, we, those are good words. Me, mine, that's bad. Us, ours, that's good. And so I was fortunate to be a part of 4 separate leadership groups that developed 4 separate organizations, which resulted in my own personal income being in excess of $10 million 4 separate times. And so, what has been the consistent? What has been the stable? The stable has been the pattern of activities and the leadership development process. The variables have been the product offerings, the company, the compensation plan. Now, I consider this to be the highest set of possibilities because suddenly we have access for the first time to the global population, not to that tiny segment of population that that I've described, but the pattern of activities will be largely the same. And so, what is that pattern of activities? This is a 10-step process. And it's a 10-step process, once again, that I did not create, but it's a 10-step process that I was taught. And so, if we describe the 10-step process, where does it begin? I'm going to change my position here on this board and make that so it can see me like this. Easier to write this way. The 10-step process begins with enrollment. Nothing constructive can occur until we have a new team member. And so this is not about describing the business to you. This is now that you have decided to do the business, then what is the pattern of activities that that we as an organization should engage in? Well, it's not the very most brutally obvious of simply enroll. And by the way, there are people on this session right now who have probably been on 5, 10, 20, maybe 50 similar presentations, whether they be business presentations or training, such as now, who have not yet enrolled, or who enrolled and enrolled only with the preliminary enrollment, which did not reflect placing an order to use the service the company offers, and so therefore are trying to imagine how it might work for them. It's fairly obvious, is it not, that one who has not yet taken the actions required success would have a very difficult time describing that action to someone else and cause them to engage in it. And so, if you have not enrolled yet, I extend to you my personal invitation for you to do so. And notice I said my personal invitation. I did not say a request because I want to help you do what you want to do. I'm not encouraging you to do something because I want you to do it. I'm simply describing to you what will be required for success. Can't succeed unless you start. You can't finish unless you start. So enroll. But don't just enroll. And then establish for yourself a mental and emotional barrier of exit. And what do I mean by that? I contemplate other business decisions that I've made in my life. I made a business decision a long number of years ago to become a dealer for a snowmobile company. It was a long time ago. But when that happened, way before I ever thought about being involved in the direct selling industry, well, I had to acquire a business loan Because why? Because I needed to have machines in the store. I didn't have the cash to buy them. And so I had to provide flooring, as it's called. I needed to have the machines on the floor. And I had to borrow money to buy the machines before I could sell them. Now, if I had a business loan and I'd leased a space and I'd hired employees, and then November came and there was no snow, do you suppose I quit? No, because I had a financial barrier of entry, which resulted in a financial barrier of exit. If December came and there was no snow, do you suppose I quit? No, because I had a financial barrier of entry, which resulted in a financial barrier of exit. When January came and there was snow, and the particular brand I was a dealer for was Skidoo, a Bombardier machine, if it was being consistently outperformed by Polaris and Yamaha and Arctic Cat, did I quit? No, because I had a mental and emotional barrier of, I had a financial barrier of entry. And so what we did is we got online, we got on the telephone way before online, and we figured out what we had to do to fix it so that our equipment would function as effectively or perhaps even better than what else was out there. But you see, I had a financial barrier of entry, which resulted in a financial barrier of exit. And so, irrespective of what the disappointments were that came along, I was in. I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't trying it. No, I'd put a second mortgage on my home so that I could get the flooring to put the machines on the floor. I was in. And so I ask you right now, are you in? If you're in, that is being reflected in your behaviors. If you're not in, you have simply enrolled, but you have not created a mental and emotional barrier of exit. If you enrolled and you bought the most expensive package our company offers, you have now got $119 in the game. That $119 is not enough if you don't have the outcome you hope to have the first day or week. So you $119 and the digital clone didn't come out the day that you hoped it would be. How did you react to that? And how would you react had you spent $100,000 or $200,000 instead of 119? What if the very first time you attempted to use the service, it didn't behave exactly how you thought it should? Though I've now come to realize that it behaves exactly how it is supposed to, whether or not it's the way that I think it should. It interacts with other people exactly the way it's supposed to. Well, you see, the question that I pose to you all is, how do you react when things don't go well? Because that will have a whole lot more to do with your ultimate outcome. Not in this project, I'm talking about in life. That will have a whole lot more to do with your outcomes in life than the way that you react when things go well. It's when things don't go well, how do you react to it? And I'm telling you in advance, in the development of a business, in entrepreneurship, there will be times when things go incredibly well, like really well. And there'll be times when it feels to you like you're doing everything required to succeed and things are going just okay. And there'll be times when it feels like you're doing everything required for success and things don't go well at all. The question is, how are you going to respond when they don't go well? That will be determined by the depth and breadth of your mental and emotional barrier of exit. And every time I have this conversation, I describe mine, as is well known. I am 68. Yesterday we drove from Clearwater to Orlando to go to a person's home because that's what I do. What do I do to succeed? Every single thing that is reflective of goodwill and intent that is required to succeed. That's what I do. And so we drove there last night, and along the way we went past Dinosaur Land. And we went past it. I thought, wow, I'm 68 and I'm talking about technology. I feel a little bit like a dinosaur. But it is about creating a mental and emotional barrier of exit reflective of our circumstance. I'm 68, but I have an 8-year-old little boy. I have a big need to create for him a cash flow that will secure his future in my absence. That's my mental and emotional barrier of exit. And that's why, and last night, by the way, went extremely well. But what if things had not gone well last night? Do you know how I would have started today? How I would have addressed it? I would have started today with even more energy, with more conviction, with more drive and more passion, because that would mean that I have to make up for a day when, notwithstanding my best planning, things had not gone the way that I desire. I find that way too many people, when things don't go well, they don't react to that the way that they should to create success. Now, if I talk that long about each of these concepts, we're going to be here all day. So I'll try to tighten it up a little bit. Step number two. By the way, if we don't do step number one correctly, nothing else I say is going to make any difference at all. And that's why I chose to spend some time there. Now, step number two, it is simply to assure that not just you, but that every person in your organization, notice I said every person, not some of them, place an appropriate initial order for him or her. Now, in our case, that is so easy because we have a $49 opportunity and we have a $99 opportunity. There's not a whole lot of concept and discussion here. And I will tell you very simply, there is one reason and one reason only to acquire the $49 package in our company, and that is because that's what's financially prudent for you. In today's world, I find it stunning that there are so many people living in fine homes, behind gates, driving nice cars, and they don't have any money. In the years since COVID, the distribution of wealth in our society and our economy has just, it's kind of pathetic. And there are a lot of people. This morning, or maybe it was last night, Samantha was having interaction with a couple that we know well who are talented, they're skilled, they're articulate, they have a beautiful young family, they're both eagerly engaged in both side businesses and employment. And yesterday, the message was, we are going to do this and we want to do it, but we can't afford this right now. That's the reality of our society. Understand this, folks. We are throwing a life preserver to a drowning world right now from an economic standpoint. And yes, there are those that are in the luxury yachts, but I promise you this, there are a whole lot more who wish they had enough just money to get by. That's the truth. And so I want people to place an appropriate initial order. I don't want one person to feel financial pressure because they got involved in this business. I want every person to feel the opposite of that. And so identify based upon goal and financial circumstance, willingness to work, the compensation plan, and the business. What is the appropriate initial order for you? And I will tell you candidly, the only reason to opt for the smaller package is because of economic realities today. And if your economic reality today is that you need to say no to $99 and yes to 49, join me in this thought. This can be the last time in your life that you ever have to opt for $49 instead of 99 because it simply isn't working for you and your family economically. That is among my goals. That's among my targets. It's among the things I enjoy doing. Step number three, I fly airplanes. And the truth is, when I say I fly airplanes, I should rephrase that. I have a pilot's license and I have an instrument rating and I have a Part 135 air taxi charter certification and I am a commercial pilot. I've also not flown an airplane for 10 years. And so, yes, I am a pilot, but I'm reflecting to old stories, not new stories. When I talk about my airplane, I'm talking about an airplane that I don't own anymore, but I've learned a lot in the pilot experience, and I've equated those things to my life, and I've equated those things to our business. And one of the things that I know is that if I don't have a long enough runway, I can't get the airplane off the ground. Every airplane has a series of performance specifications, and we'll consider the weight of the airplane. We'll consider the temperature outside, the atmosphere, because that will determine the density of the air. That will determine, in my case, was a propeller-driven airplane. How big is the bite that the propeller gets will be dependent upon the density of the air, and that'll be dependent upon elevation, atmospheric conditions, and so on. And so the amount of distance to get the same airplane off the ground changes depending on from whence we're going and that from whence we're taking off. And that explains why some people will only need a short runway to get this business launched, and some people will take a longer runway. But no people will need a runway that is shorter than the minimum that that particular aircraft requires. No person will get a business off the ground without an absolute dead bare minimum runway length of 12 months. That is just the truth. That's not an opinion. That's a statement of fact. That's the way that it is. That is the minimum. And for some people, once again, different atmospheric conditions, which I would equate to different life's experiences, different current situations, it may be more than 12 months. And so, what I counsel every person to do is establish for yourself an absolute minimum of a 12-month runway. Measure activities, measure behaviors every day, but don't measure the outcomes of those behaviors until 12 months. And then stop and contemplate and consider, how should I course change? Meanwhile, get as closely as you get and stay as close as you can to the center line that I now described to you. And so make a commitment that is 12 months long. And for those for whom it is prudent and financially appropriate to acquire the $99 package, do that. And for those for whom it's appropriate, don't just do a monthly subscription, but do an annual subscription so that you know I'm in for a year. No matter what, I'm in for a year. And now, different ways that I view this. I am. both using my own knowledge and experience to help the Lev AI tool suite work. And you say, well, Randy, how could you make the Lev AI tool suite work? This is artificial intelligence. Well, when we train our I can train it based on my knowledge and experience, can't I? And so that will make it work better because of that knowledge and experience. If we go to the more lengthy post, and this, by the way, is the one that makes you look way better than you are. That's the truth. It lets you benefit from and become profitable as a result of knowledge that you don't have. But then I counsel you to not just use it so that you get paid for knowledge you don't have, gather the knowledge that you don't yet have. See, I can write because of my knowledge and experience, I can write a maybe better sentence or two than I would have been able to had I not had my years of knowledge and experience. And so Lev AI starts out producing for me a stronger message than it would if I didn't know even how to craft those first two sentences to give it the right guidance, if I hadn't trained my AI. Well, our life's experience can compress the amount of time required to make things happen. We can actually make Levi better based upon our past experience. And so don't think that all you've learned, you've developed, you've become, don't think, well, all of that wasn't necessary because now artificial intelligence can do it for me. No, it can't. You will start at a different place based on what you bring to the equation. Step number three is to know and understand a 12-month commitment should be considered the absolute dead bare minimum. Go back to your mental and emotional barrier of exit. If you spend $500,000 to get in this business and business was struggling after 12 months, would you walk away from your $500,000? No, you wouldn't. And so you see, it's not really even for me. The reason I asked to make a 12-month commitment is because people can wrap their arms around that. Let me describe my commitment to you. My commitment to you is this: I will never stop helping as long as you keep trying. And as long as part of that trying means that you're focused on getting closer to the process that has been proven to work. If a year from now you have stubbornly refused to do that which has been proven to work and you're still trying to go your own way, I'll help you get back to that which has been proven to work, but I won't help you do something that I don't know will work because that's a waste of my time and it's a waste of your time too. But my commitment to you will never expire so long as you keep trying. So I asked you to make a 12-month commitment, but my commitment to you is permanent. Long as you're trying, I'll be there to help. And I would ask that each of you adopt some similar thought and strategy as a leader of your own group, which is a subset of mine. Step number four has never been more important in my career than it is right now. Step number four is what? It is where we learn the back office functions and where we really learn them. Understand this: if you don't know the back office functions, then you will be an insufficient helper, and your member will then be relegated to customer service. And by the way, I consider customer service at Levi to be exceptional. It's really, really good, but we shouldn't have too many reasons to call on customer service. Let me rephrase that. We should only be calling upon customer service for legitimate customer service questions. We should not be calling on customer service for questions which are leadership centric. And I'm already having a whole lot of times, multiple times every day. I have customer service kicking the can back to me. Randy, this question is being posed by one of the members of your group. This is not a CS question. This is a question that you need to respond to as a leader. You see, the effectiveness of the leader will result in customer service having the time to effectively do those things that they should do. And by the way, if you become completely knowledgeable and skillful in back office functionality, if you do, then you'll find that your interactions with customer service will become few. You will. And if you then impose upon others what I now impose upon you, back office knowledge. And in our case, why did I say it's more important than ever? Because we need back office knowledge in two separate sites. We need this in the AI tool suite, and we need it also in your business portal where you're managing your business. So if any of you, and by the way, you've all been, at least many of you, contact me or contact Samantha now multiple times every day, asking questions, the answer to which is in the back office. Answering question, the answers to which make it evident to me this person, though well intended, a person we want to help, is not using the product right now. If they were using the product, they would not be asking me the question that is being asked because every use provides the answer in and of itself. And so here we are very early in our business. We're not even 30 days since we introduced the tool suite. And so what I've always taught is that if someone approaches me in the first 30 days and asks me any question, even if the answer is in the back office, I very cheerfully respond to the question. I answer it, but I answer it by referring them to the back office. I answer it by saying, yes, here is the answer, and here is where it is found in your back office. This is the answer, and this is where I got it. If 31 days in, I get a question from a person who is asking, they're querying about information that can be found in the tool suite itself or in your member portal, then Randy, what is the answer to this question? That's where it's found. I pause, I smile so that my responses will be charitable and kind. And I say, what a fun question. Do you remember step number 4? Let me know when you find the answer in the back office and forward it to me. You see, I require of people that they become self sufficient. Remember this, every single thing we do in this business is either teaching people to be self sufficient or dependent. If you create a business building strategy which results in people being dependent, then no matter how big your income gets, and by the way, it won't get very big with that strategy, but no how better big it gets, it will be like a job because you are required for it. The only way the income takes on a life of its own and where we develop the income stream again, I don't know what your target is. My target is to work because I want to. My target is to work because I enjoy helping people. My target is absolutely not to work to make money. That is not my target. My target is to create a process that makes money. And then for me, my personal interaction is to do that which the process cannot. And so, very simply, I will not do for another what he or she can do for themselves. The fact that I can do it better, it's no surprise. Most of the time, I've done this for 35 years, and most people I interact with have done it for 35 months or less. And so it's no surprise, those years of experience, it's easier for me. It's a mistake for me to do for you what you can do for yourself just because I can do it better. Cicero said, the skill to do comes from the doing. I would way rather that you did it poorly 5 times because the 6th time you'll do it better. The 7th time better, the 8th time better, the 9th time better. Sometime not too far down the road, you'll find there's no reason to call Randy because you know how to do it. We must create an organization of people who are becoming self-sufficient as opposed to creating an organization that is built upon people who are dependent upon whomever the leadership is that they turn to. A complete back office review of both segments such that were I to ask you any question, where can I find the comp plan document? Where can I find this video? Where can I find that video? All the questions that I get every day, way too many times. You need to be the person who knows the answer to that automatically and transfer that the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, so that you don't get that phone call anymore. So the call or the text you get is, I've got a fantastic candidate. I've already taught them the basics of the business. They've gone through the process that you described. I just now need you to step in here as a part of step number 5. See that then all of a sudden the business becomes eminently replicatable, and there is suddenly no reason for anyone to ever feel stuck or stymied because their particular leader or coach is not available or because they simply no longer around. No reason for that. And if that's the way that you feel, take ownership of it. I can't find my leader and I'm stuck. Take ownership of the fact I've not yet become the leader that I need to be so that I'm not dependent upon somebody else. Step number 5 is to build belief. And I'm going to erase my board here so that I can go back up to the top. I have plenty of room to describe this to you. I always hesitate to say that there's any part of this message that is the most important. I think all of it is very, very important, but I can think of no part of this that is more important than step number 5. In the absence of proper execution of step number 5, we will build businesses of replacement. We will be enrolling somebody next month to replace someone we enrolled last month unless we effectively execute step 5. And I could say that probably about every one of them. If we don't create a mental and emotional barrier of exit, well, what's the chance of that person standing the test of time when there are going to be disappointments? Not very much on down the line. If we don't have a long enough runway so the airplane gets off the ground, well, what do we got? We've got an airplane on the ground. And so maybe I should not even describe this as the most important, but this is a critical one, folks. So step number 5 is to build belief. I view it a couple of different ways. I'll illustrate this a couple of different ways. We have this balance beam. And over here, we have the potential positives immediately coming out of the gate. And over here, we have potential negatives immediately coming out of the gate. recognizing all of the things we've talked about up until now. It didn't cost anyone any money to enroll, and on and on and on. These are the reasons that this becomes so important. If we keep enough weight on the positive side of the scale, such that a person is having a positive experience, they will stay involved and they will learn, grow, develop, and become that which they must become over time, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but they will learn, grow, develop, and become that which they must over time to the extent that we keep enough positive weight on the belief side of the scale. If we allow the scale to tilt to the negative side, then we will have to replace that member. That's just the truth. That will be the outcome. And so, what are the potential positives that one might experience? Well, I think that the most obvious positive to me is that we don't just invite people to get involved in a business or to become a vendor of a product. We invite people to become a part of a community that I believe has the capacity not just to teach you how to make more money, but I believe that your involvement in the community will help you understand basic principles to make you more happy more of the time. That's my ultimate target. My ultimate target is not just to make more money. My ultimate target is to be more happy more of the time. And one of the most certain ways for me to hit that target is if I help other people become more happy more of the time. And so I think one predictable positive is participation in the community. That's a very obvious potential positive. What is the other potential positive? I think that anybody who gives it even a tiny, tiny try will find out that the tool suite itself is absolutely excellent, just excellent. And that's supposed to say TS plus. That's what that says. Tool suite is absolutely extraordinary. And anyone who begins using it will have a positive experience. I believe that. That's my experience so far. And that's those are the two predictable positives at the very outset coming out of the gate. What are the potential negatives? Well, just 2 days ago, I experienced this one. A great initial candidate, a really, really good guy who was so excited about one potential new candidate. And he was excited enough about her. He said, Randy, will you come and meet with her in person? Yeah, sure, I will. Um, I had not yet taught him the ladder of escalation, which I'm going to teach you today. And so, even though she had seen and heard nothing, I said, "Sure, I'll go and I'll meet with her." And we had a nice 90-minute long conversation. His enthusiasm was unbelievable. Oh my gosh, Randy, she's the biggest superstar ever. The next day, he asked me if I would drive from Tampa to Orlando to meet with her a second time, which I did. And at the conclusion of that meeting, she said, "Randy, I want to do this." Then she went home and told her husband that she was involving herself in a new project, and her husband lost it. See, it's not had nothing to do with our business, and it had nothing to do with who we are and what we provide. It had to do with his desire for her to not take another minute away from their home and their family. She was in no place prepared to describe how this product and service was going to do the opposite, give her more time at home. And I, of course, don't have any way of knowing what the quality of that relationship is. But when she contacted me, she was actually very emotional. She was upset. She said, Randy, I want to do this, but I can't because my husband has literally lost it. And I'm not trying to create a strain in my relationship. Well, I can't get in the middle of that, can I? And I couldn't say, well, let me help teach him how and why this will give you more time at home and not less. No, I cannot get in the middle of that relationship. And so she said, Randy, I'm sorry. I want to do this. And if at some point in time I can sway my husband's judgment, then I'll be back around. But at that time, there was the enroller of this great initial candidate, and he was putting all of the weight on her. And suddenly she went away. And he called me. He called me and he said, Randy, that was my most important candidate, and she's out. So am I. That's what he said. Absolute insanity, folks. Understand this. I have personally enrolled 144 people. I have absolutely no emotional investment in any decision that they make. Please, please, please let it be from this point that you cauterize the wound. Do not become emotionally involved in decisions that other people make. Become emotionally involved in the decisions that you make and know in advance that there's all kinds of things that are going on in people's lives and in their families that we're not privy to. And that's not an unusual experience that I just described, to have a fantastic candidate you thought was going to be the best for whatever reason not go forward. Well, that put a little bit of negative weight on the scale. And in fact, it went the other way. She had actually enrolled, she had become a member. And so the great candidate had become the great member. And now the great candidate suddenly was out, and the great member was suddenly out. Well, those are not unpredictable things. In fact, if you do this enough, if you open the gate wide and let enough people in, you're going to have those experiences. These are not experiences you might have. These are experiences that you are going to have, period. It has nothing to do with what our business is. It has to do with that's the way that life is. And then have any of you heard me say that I think you're going to make a whole bunch of money in your first month, or in your first 2 months, or in your first 3 months? Have any of you heard me say that? I haven't said that. I've said the opposite. What I've said is, remember, folks, the entry fee is $99. And so we could not expect to receive a whole lot of income on a $99 purchase, could we? That's not logical. And if we're brand new, we're just learning, could we really expect that we're going to go out and enroll enough people that our commission on a $99 ticket is going to make a great big income in the first month or the first quarter? No, that is likewise not the truth. What is the truth? What is the truth is that, unlike anything before in my career, I've always thought this, that there's promotion line. So most of my career, when a person joined the business, they would place a $1,000 or higher order, and the next month they would have a $110 auto ship or smart ship. So what is the truth is, one could produce a relatively larger first month income because a bunch of people were spending $1,000, but the next month they still have $999 worth of it on hand, and so they cancel their smart ship. What's not the truth is, I can show you how to make a whole bunch of money your first month or two or three. What is the truth is that you will end every month where you started, because the $99 entry fee is the exact same as the $99 ongoing monthly. And so, as many of you are experiencing now, the business that we set in motion on the 17th of last month, we started this month where we ended last month. We didn't start with a gap between here and here. And so now that's why you're seeing yesterday and today, and it will continue through the end of the month, rank advancements, bang, 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 because all of those subscriptions are equal to the initial order. And that results in increases, not in decreases, in month two. And so as we go forward, that will wind up putting positive weight onto this side of the scale. But today, people aren't realizing it yet. They're not seeing it. They haven't put their arms around that, not in widespread fashion. They're comparing it to things that once were, as opposed to things that now are. What once was large entry orders, retreats next month, auto ships cancel, build a business of replacement. What is a value you cannot buy anyplace else. You cannot replace the product or service. You don't have any stuck in your garage or basement. You don't have any left over that's still on hand. And this month's subscription is added to that base month. So every new enrollment, every single new enrollment results in growth. Well, that will cause positive weight tomorrow. When I say tomorrow, I don't mean 24 hours from now. I mean, a month from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, as people start to see with clarity what I can now see. This will build, and is already in a very short period of time, building a better business than I have ever built before, because I don't have this gap that exists between initial order and ongoing monthly order. It's just a better business, folks. Well, I know that, and I believe that. But do you? It's not a whole bunch of immediate income. A person quits, a candidate doesn't enroll. If the weight on the scale causes this balance beam to be tilted only the tiniest bit down, just the tiniest bit down, then you will build a business of replacement. And so what we must do then is have a daily strategy that causes, just imagine we've got gold dust, and we've got a gram weight, or a quarter of a gram, or a tenth of a gram, a little tiny weight. We have to keep putting enough weight onto the side of the scale to keep it. Oh, now I see that if I don't get a charger, I'm going to be in trouble. So please be patient with me, and I'll be right back. I am, in fact, back. And so we must find a way, not we should, we must find a way to keep the positives, to keep it slightly tilted towards the positive side, to never allow it to become slightly tilted towards the negative side. And so, how do we do it? By giving a simple assignment to watch one video per day, just one per day, 3.5, 4 minutes, 5 minute long video that is helping a person feel more constructive about what? About AI, about Lev AI's position in the business, about the way our compensation plan works, about the tool suite, any one of the various segments, about how the compensation plan can provoke income in relatively shorter periods of time based upon certain strategies. Anything that makes you feel better about you, that might be the most important thing. I probably have invested more time in my life in um, personal growth and development than most have, but I can't let a day go by without continuing that process. It's just like the gym. I went to the gym this morning. Why? Well, because I went to the gym yesterday. Life is about momentum. If I go to the gym yesterday, my body wants to go today. I like the way that it feels. My muscles feel just a little bit tight. I like that feeling. If I go to the gym today, I want to go tomorrow. Very similar in my recovery world. If I go to a recovery meeting today, I want to go to a recovery meeting tomorrow. If I allow too many days to go by without going to the gym, try to get me in there. It's hard. If I go to too many days in a row without going to a recovery meeting, try to get me in there. It's hard. Life is about momentum. If I watch a video today that makes me feel positive and constructive, I want to tomorrow. I want to the next day. I want to the next day. If I don't engage in that momentum process, then suddenly I will not be accomplishing it. And so at step number 5, I just give the assignment, watch one short little video per day and record it. That which is measured can be improved. I have what I describe as a magic magnifying mind. My mind will always tell me that I'm doing every single thing that is required to succeed. It will. I remember Nathan Rex was my primary teacher so many years ago. And he asked me one time, he said, Randy, how good do you want to be? And I said, I want to be the best there was. And that was because I didn't understand the business. Folks, I don't want to be the best there ever was. I hope I'm not. I hope I never am. I know I'm not. I hope I never am. Why don't I want to be? Because I want to be the best that I can be. But if your best is better than my best, oh my gosh, what a moment of celebration. And if I can somehow help you make your best better than my best, then what is happening? Then your success ultimately finds its way home to me. We're connected together. This is a business where we build teams, not individual performance. Right? This is a team sport that we're playing. It's a team business that we're building. If somehow I can help you make your best better than mine, that'd be about the greatest cause of celebration I can possibly imagine. And so I said, I have this magic magnifying mind. Nathan asked me all those years ago, Randy, how good do you want to be? Well, I want to be the best. He said, okay, let's start with this. Do a business presentation in your home every week for the next 52 weeks. Now, I'm not telling you that's what you should do. I'm recounting a life experience. We're now in a technology driven world. There'll be fewer personal interactions for sure. I promise you, I will still do plenty of personal interactions. I drove to Orlando last night for a reason. The person whose home I was at last night is on her way here now today because of what transpired last night. And so there was great value with that. I don't believe that that would be happening had I just done a Zoom presentation with her. In fact, I'm virtually certain it would not. The nature of the conversations transcended business, but why? Because we were there. Okay. And so when, if you were to ask me now, in fact, I used to teach. And so I did a business presentation in my home every week that first year, because that's what Nathan told me to do. I'm willing to bet that didn't really happen. I'll bet the week between Christmas and New Year's that I didn't. In fact, I know I didn't. I'm willing to bet that Easter week I didn't. We observe Holy Week in our family. I'm willing to bet that I didn't. I'm willing to bet that there was a wedding, there was a little league game, there was something. And so that which is measured can be improved. Today, I can tell you exactly how many contacts I made yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. That which is measured can be improved. Start keeping a record. When you keep a record of constructive behaviors, then you'll be able to see how and why. You'll understand why you're growing, or you'll understand why you're not. And when we understand that the lack of growth is being provoked by the fact that we are not engaged in the patterns that create success, then we can guide ourselves back more closely to that center line. And before I leave step number 5, which is to build belief, I want to illustrate it one more way, simply because I want this to find its way home in your mind so that you cannot forget it. So one way I illustrate step number 5 is with my balance beam having just a little bit more weight on the positive side that exists on the negative. The next way that I describe it is, here is my belief bucket. And I reflect, I think of this also in the Western United States. Thank God it seems to be breaking right now. Lots of storms and lots of wetness. But in the Western United States, we've been in drought conditions for a long time. And the big reservoirs, like the Great Salt Lake, is not a reservoir, it's a natural lake, but the Great Salt Lake is almost drying up. Lake Powell, Lake Mead, the big lakes in the West are drying up. And in those lakes, we know that there's multiple purposes for those man-made lakes, for those reservoirs. It is to control floods in the spring. It's to generate electricity as they turn electrical turbines, and it's to provide irrigation for farmers. Those are the various reasons for some of the various reasons. And so now here we have a lake. And we know that the lake has a spillway. And if the water level in that dam, in that reservoir, gets too low, then it will not be able to turn the electrical turbines. That's the truth. That's the way it is. And it's then called dead pool. It won't do what is probably its primary function, to turn electrical turbines to generate electricity so that life and society can go on the way that we know it. If a big hydroelectric dam falls into Deadpool, that impacts potentially tens of millions of people. And so I liken this to my belief, or I liken it to your belief. If our belief is below a certain level, it will not turn the turbines. And it simply doesn't matter how much we want it to work, it will not work. We'll think about the business all day and all night. We'll talk about it to our husband or wife. We'll talk about it to our upline. We won't talk about it to any candidates. That is the exact reality of having belief fall beneath a certain point. And so here I have my belief bucket. Well, what do I do when I engage a new person in the business? Or if ever I find myself, it doesn't happen much, but I'm a human being, and if ever I find my own belief, commitment wavering at all, then what I've got to do is I've got to create a real storm. I have got to create one massive storm to get that water from here to here. And so how do I do that? Well, I do that by going personally back completely and all the way through the 10 steps to getting started. And then I add to those the steps that I've known are required to not just start, but to stay started. Promise you this, folks, it is a whole lot easier to stay started than it is to get started. And that's why you never see me stop. You don't ever. I liken it to if you're on the highway, an interstate, and you go past a truck stop at 2 a.m. There you'll see a line of trucks, and those trucks' engines are all idling, very low RPM, but they're all idling. Bang, 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 bang. I never stop. It's always at least idling. I don't turn the engine off. Because why? Because it's a whole lot easier to stay started than it is to get started. And so this is the truth, folks. I engaged in this enterprise, micro enterprise, 35 years ago, and I've never stopped. I've stayed started the entire time. Now, there have been multiple times along the way where I've needed to not just have that steady, consistent bang, 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 that steady, consistent, that is me acting upon my daily activity standard. 6 contacts per day, bang, 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 no matter what. Steady, consistent, steady, consistent. Periodically, there are moments of profound opportunity or profound need. Sometimes those two come together, sometimes they're separate. But when I come to that moment of profound opportunity or profound need, then instead of the steady bang, 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 then I become a 2 cycle motocross engine. Zing, zing, zing. Folks, I'm in zing, zing, zing mode right now. It's not about it's not about my normal daily activity standard. It is about opening the funnel as wide as I possibly can in the very shortest period of time. And in so do, whenever I do that, I turn up the heat. And I mean, I go as hard and as fast as I can go for as long as I can. What does that do? That is like an enormous storm, and that will, without question, the massive burst of energy. Acting whether I want to act, acting whether yesterday's action produced any good or not, an enormous burst of energy engaged in the correct revenue producing activities. We'll talk about those in a moment. That will cause the belief level, the water level, to get above the spillway so that it can generate electricity, so that it can produce enrollments, and so that it can produce enrollments which produce enrollments. customers, members, both. And then getting the water level back above the level where it must be, the belief level, so that it can be constructive. Then I go back to bang, bang, bang. That's 6 a day, 6 a day, 6 a day, 6 a day, 6 a day. Say, wait a minute, Randy, I can't do 6 a day. Well, until you decide you can, you can't. and and remember this. This is based upon my goal and objective. Understand, this is for me. I believe I'm planning on this being the great exclamation point on my career. That's my objective. That's my belief. That's my plan. It's my hope. And have engaged. I have expressed the right amount of energy to get to the spot that I need to be at my best. And you might say, well, Randy, why do you need your belief to go up? Hey, the last 2.5 years, the years since COVID, the times, I mean, what I've always done for a living, um, it doesn't produce the same results today that it used to produce. You can no longer deliver products that are priced to meet compensation plans. Things have to change. I'm a human being. It would be easy if I simply continued doing the same things I was doing before without gathering new knowledge and then developing new skills to marry to that new knowledge reflective of the evolution, the movement of business. Well, then my belief could be low. But in fact, my belief is very, very, very high. Why? Because I am still engaged in zing, zing, zing. Right? It's not that many weeks yet. We just got started a while ago. And I will stay at that level to the point of exhaustion. That's what I will do. And when I get to the point of exhaustion, then I won't stop. Why? Because it's easier to stay started than get started. I will simply retreat to my standard daily activity standard, the diesel engine running in the background, thereby assuring that my own belief is always, 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 and forever above the critical line that is necessary to not just act, but to act with the right kind of energy, emotion, confidence, and conviction that causes other people to want to go where I'm going. And so let's contemplate and consider for just a moment those first five proposals to enroll in LevAI and to create for yourself a mental and emotional barrier of exit such that you know you will still be standing a year from now. What talent or skill does that require? Absolutely none. What does it require? A little bit of knowledge, which I have shared with you, and willingness. And now you get a chance to either express and evidence that willingness or not. Step number two, and by the way, going back to step number one, have you enrolled yet? Well, do what you want to do. But don't believe for a moment that you can guide others to do something that you have not done. I mean, that is complete, absolute folly. And then create a mental and emotional barrier of exit to assure that you are still standing 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. Step number two is to not just enroll, but to place your appropriate initial order. And I am very, very aware of the financial plight of many. I understand. But yesterday, it's an interesting thing. Yesterday, we had a nice enrollment day. But 35% of yesterday's total enrollments simply did the $19 enrollment fee and did not place an order for one of the products. Folks, I'm sorry, it cannot work. And if you're one of those, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you the truth. It cannot work. If we do not acquire and use the product, become knowledgeable and skillful in it, there is no chance, not one in 10,000, that we can successfully guide other people to do that which we have not done. And so I always watch everything that I'm encouraged about and excited about. I also watch carefully for things that I know are not going to lead in the right direction. If we have 35% of people who are enrolling and not acquiring the tool suite, they don't have a clue how the product works, and they will not only not be an effective ambassador, they will be an extremely ineffective ambassador. Just telling you the truth. Place an appropriate initial order. Yesterday, 35% of our membership did not. 35% of new members did not place an order yesterday. They just did a $19 enrollment fee. To what purpose? That is the exact same as driving down the street, rolling down the window, and throwing 19 bucks out. That's what that is. Little blunt, that's true. Step number three. And by the way, how much how much skill or talent does it take to place an appropriate initial order? None. What does it take? Knowledge and willingness. Step number three is to make a commitment that is inviolable, that you'll still be standing 12 months from now, to give yourself a 12-month runway. What does it take? Does it take talent or skill? No, it takes knowledge and willingness. Step four, how much talent or skill does it take to do a complete total back office tutorial and to know it and understand it so you could guide another one through it effectively? None. What does it take? little bit of knowledge. You've been given the assignment and willingness. That's all. And step number five, how much talent or skills does it take to watch a video every day? To do those things to keep your vibration level at its highest, to do that which is required to keep yourself above Deadpool, it takes none. What does it take? It takes willingness. And so the first five proposals are all about your willingness. That's it. Then we get to the action items. Now we come to step number six. At step number six, this is to create a preliminary candidate list. Now, this is, I will never say anything that is of value is easy because that's not my life experience. What I will say is this is easier than anything that I've seen or observed in times past because one can create a preliminary candidate list by using the tool. The tool itself creates the candidate list. My own personal standard, I do 10 screenshot imports per day into the CRM. It takes me less than 10 minutes, but I do 10 screenshot imports per day and I search the candidate file that is available to us 10 times per day. And so I have 20 opportunities every day to have a new candidate who is interested in what I'm doing. Never in my life have I been involved in a business where the use of the tool itself created the candidate list. This is, again, I'm not going to say it's easy. You got to decide to do it. You got to act upon it. The skill to do comes from the doing, not from thinking about doing it, not from hearing that somebody else did it. But today, it's become really easy for me to source a fantastic candidate. Yesterday, I also had a person send me a message that said, I've got candidates, but the candidates aren't enrolling yet. My gosh, if I'm doing a screenshot import and I got a candidate today who perhaps has never heard of me or hasn't heard from me for a decade, would it be surprising to me that they didn't enroll today? No, it'd be shocking to me if they did. The enrollment of a new person, remember, it's not about $99. It's about shifting the way that we think. It's about shifting the way that we're going to invest our time. It's about making a commitment. The $99 doesn't explain it. $99 seems like an easy choice. Deciding to change the way that you're going to address your future finances, that's not a $99 decision. And so for the majority of people, it is a process. It is not an event. It is a process for me to enroll a high quality new team member. Now, it can very well be an event to enroll a customer, and I advise each one of us to be having at least one interaction per day with someone where we are not even describing the possibilities of generating royalties, but we're simply describing the way the tool suite can help their business. See, that can be an event. But enrolling a new team member who chooses to take time away from something else they were doing, who's choosing to make this the thing I'm having trust and faith in, I've only got 90 days runway. I've got a mortgage payment coming 3 days from now, and I've got this much cash, or 3 months from now, and I've got this much cash. If I'm assuming, if I'm opting in to this is what I'm going to do. See, that's a big decision, not a small one, isn't it? So don't be surprised if that's a process, not an event. But at step number six, it is to create a preliminary candidate list, and I'm using the tool to do it. Easiest thing I've ever seen. Now, I say easy? No, I said the easiest thing I've ever seen because other things I've seen in terms of growing a candidate list over the course of my career have been really hard. Step number seven is mastering the art of the invitation. Once again, this just became so much easier than anything that I have ever seen. Why? Because I do a screenshot import or I do a scan of the lead candidate file. And now I let Lev AI craft the invitation based upon all that it learned on the import. This is so much easier because the tool does for me what I've always had to do. I have a more valid candidate file right now than I've ever had in my life. And I do 10 screenshot imports. I do 10 searches of the database. I've got 20 candidates per day. And again, yes, and I'm not expecting when I interact with that candidate today that they're going to join me today. I would think that's crazy. I wouldn't do that. Somebody contacts me that I've never heard from before and tells me a business, sends me a video to watch or asks me for a phone call. And now I'm going to enroll and put my credit card on file and get charged month. No, that's not what I'm going to do. I need to understand it is a process. It is not an event. And the process starts with properly sourcing a candidate who is looking for what we're looking for, learning how to interact with them, letting Lev AI make the interaction, teaching us how to master the art of the invitation. Notice I said teaching us. Artificial intelligence can be viewed a couple of ways. Artificial intelligence helps me overcome short-term disabilities. I have a short-term disability in terms of knowing how to craft email messages, social media messages that result in a rapidly growing social media presence. I've had a really big career and I have a pathetically small little social media presence because I don't know how to do it. I have learned in the last 3 weeks things that I wish somebody had taught me so long ago. I didn't understand the value of it, simply putting a hashtag on and getting more eyes. Um, I can acknowledge today that I'm just way too full of myself. I tell people what I think, but after that, I don't ask them, and what do you think? Simply the fact that every message that I put out, Lev AI is asking, and what do you think? What would you do in this situation? That simple question changes the number of responses that I get by a factor of like 10. So you see, I have a permanent disability. I don't speak Mandarin and I don't speak Hebrew. Those are permanent disabilities I will rely upon. Notice I said rely, not depend. I cannot stand being dependent upon anyone or anything. But I'm happy to rely upon leaders or upon technology that can help me do things that I cannot do for myself. Notice I said to help me do things that I cannot do for myself. I'm not going to speak Mandarin any time in this life. But what I can do and have done already is utilize the tool to learn things I did not know. You see, it is a temporary crutch to use for a temporary disability. I've learned how to write more correct posts. I've learned how to hashtag. I've learned so many things in a very short period of time. I have become more as a result of using the service. I had a bit of consternation. I thought, wow, this might stymie leadership growth because people will depend upon AI as opposed to themselves. I've discovered the exact opposite. In my own case, it is helping me become more as I rely upon it. I certainly don't depend upon it, but I'm learning how to further my own invitation process. You can develop a well-rounded invitation skill in 30 days utilizing Lev AI, and it's always taken a lot longer than that. The first revenue producing activity, identify a candidate. Second, know what to say, know what not to say, so our candidate opens their eyes, their ears, and their hearts to possibility. That's mastering the art of the invitation. Next is learning how to present the business in a fashion that can and will duplicate. And this is where we need to remember that artificial intelligence and all uses of technology have their place. Their place is not to replace personal interaction. You need to learn how to present the business yourself. You need to learn how to present the business yourself. How will you learn how to do it? By doing it. Cicero said the skill to do comes from the doing. This is why when I enroll a new member, I have that new member schedule their own private launch. And you'll understand in a few moments as we go through the ladder of escalation where that fits. A person must learn how to present the business in a fashion that can and will duplicate, or how to present the product if one chooses to focus their energies and attentions on a customer base as opposed to a partner or business building base. And step number 9, if I have a candidate list, easier than anything I've ever seen, because we use Lev AI to create it. If we have mastered the art of the invitation and we can rely upon Lev AI to craft the invitation as we're going through our own education process, if we learn how to present the business, and how will we learn how to present it? By presenting it. And will that or will that be made easier if we have an upline, a coach, a sponsor, a mentor who is able and willing to do that with us? This becomes one of your roles if you seek to become a leader in the business. If you seek to have leveraged income, not simply reoccurring income as a result of the subscription. If you want leveraged income because other people are doing likewise, it will be mandatory that you learn how to present the business and that you then become one of these resources that transfers that knowledge to another. That will be one of the keys that determines the magnitude of your success. At step number 9, learning how to do new member orientation such that every new member has the greatest possible chance to do what I call winning the race to profitability. What does it mean to win the race to profitability? In our case, it means simply this. If you enroll as a $99 professional pack purchaser, when you have enrolled 5 people who have done likewise, you will now have $100 in recurring income. And that means there's no longer any further price for you. Who is going to quit if it's free? Nobody. And so you see, winning the race to profitability means I need to help my new member have 5 subscriptions soon. Soon, folks. 30 days is best. 60 days is manageable. 90 days is too long. Need to learn how to do new member orientations that result in the new member who's willing to try becoming cash flow neutral at the absolute max 60 days in. And do not think for a second that that's going to happen by accident. It is not. It will happen if you make a decision that you're going to learn how to do it and that you do it and that you do it well. And step number 10 is to learn how to effectively engage in what I call the ladder of escalation. And so now I will describe the ladder of escalation. What is it we seek to do? We seek to engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities, which results in the creation of an ever expanding and potentially limitless web of internal and external consumers. That same process is the process that will result in the development of a leadership group among the internal consumers who then further the message in the gathering together of a literally countless number of potential external consumers whose subscription value can go up every single day, every week, every month. We are creating a subscription-based income, the same as if we were getting paid every time a person pays their cell phone bill. A subscription-based income, the same as getting paid every time someone pays their home security bill. A subscription-based income that pays the same as every time somebody pays their internet bill, and on we go. That is the target, that is the goal, that is the objective. There is a 10-step process that I've just described, and then the daily mechanism of operation is what is called the ladder of escalation. It looks like this. What is the first rung on the ladder? This is when we utilize a properly constructed script to let a tool talk. That's the first rung on the ladder of escalation. Having identified a candidate at step number 6, I then let LevAI craft for me a properly constructed script to cause the candidate to open their eyes, their ears, and the hearts to possibility and to let a tool talk. What is the tool that I let talk? The 90-second or 120-second, whatever it is, introduction to LevAI, which can be found on the LevAI YouTube page. Now, if we have properly sourced and prepared the candidate to receive the information. We didn't just source a lead and fling it out there. No, we prepared the candidate to receive the information. And given how long I've been talking with you, I'll bring that back to another conversation tomorrow, or the next day, or whenever I next decide to. But we utilize a properly constructed script to let a tool talk, and we let LevAI construct that script, and we select a LevAI tool, that 90 or 120-second first video. And I have learned that there are almost no new mistakes at what we do. There are new people making old mistakes, and there are old people making old mistakes. I'd like to help you avoid them. And I would like mostly to help you help others avoid them, because that is, again, where this whole idea of a leveraged income based upon other people's success starts to take on a degree of reality. And so when I send that script, remember that every single thing that we say or do not say or do is teaching our candidate what they will be required to do if they join us in the business. And so if I send that script, I utilize a properly constructed script to let a tool talk, and then I start just hammering them. Did you watch the video? Wasn't that great? Wasn't that cool? What'd you like most about the video? I am teaching that candidate that they are going to have to chase other new members. And none of us want to do that. None of us. And so what I do instead, I have a properly constructed script that introduces the tool. And then I just add these statements. Upon your review, you let me know if you'd like to continue the conversation. I just told them, I'm not chasing you. I'm looking for people who are looking. I'm looking for people who are looking. I'm not trying to convince anybody of a darn thing, not you, not anybody else. That's what they heard. After you watch the video, let me know if you'd like to continue the conversation. That just changed their entire perception of our business. Because I do it the way that I do it, something north of 8 out of 10 of every person that I have that interaction with say, well, excuse me, say, well, sure, I want to hear more. Remember, folks, every single thing that I do is what I was taught to do by another. There is no luck. There is no guesswork. There is a reason. There's a logic. There's a rationale for every piece of this puzzle. This is 90 seconds long or 120 seconds long. Therefore, whatever the next piece of information is, will be more. It will be more. And so now I send them a replay. I send them a replay to one of the record videos. And I compare my candidate with the various people that we have stored presentations from. Is this a candidate who is most likely to respond to the calm, soothing message delivered by Bev Dormer? Is this a candidate who is likely to respond from the very, very energetic message that is delivered by Brother Eric Muhammad? Is this a candidate that I can see might most likely respond well to the broad depth of AI knowledge that Aaron Barley presents? And on it goes. Each of our presenters, everything, I want you to know, folks, there's everything that we're doing on purpose, creating a library of stored recorded links with a whole group of presenters such that you can tie the presenter to the candidate. Now, it's the message that's most important, but there is also importance to the messenger and tying the candidate to the desire, the need, the want, the skill, the background of the recipient of the message can be of tremendous importance. And so now I send a recorded link. Well, that recorded link is somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes long. A person will probably not watch the 30 or 40-minute long link if they didn't watch this one first. That's the truth. They'll get 90 seconds into it and click off. If they watch this 90 seconds, then they're far more likely than they opted in. Yeah, I want more. Well, if they want more, then 30 or 35 or 40 minutes is not too much. If they're just trying to decide if they have interest, it's way too much. And so, having had their first interaction, yes, I want to know more. Then I provide the link. And here I become 100% assumptive. If a person opted in here and asked for this link, if they watch it, it is so close to 100% chance they join me that the other percentage doesn't matter. I mean, it's way more than 9 out of 10. If I get here, they're going to join me. When are they going to join me? This week? I don't know. This month? I don't know. But they are going to join me. And so now, having watched this, then what happens next? Now I finally do a personal presentation. Might be in a Zoom room, it might be face to face, whatever it is. But step one of the ladder of escalation, properly constructed script to let a very brief tool talk to provoke and prod for interest. I'm not going to chase you. You let me know if you want to know more. They review this link. I'm now 100% assumptive. They ask for the link. Perfect. After you review the 20-minute link, or 25-minute link, 30, whatever it is, and I edify a little bit. The person who is speaking is a friend of mine. They're a business associate of mine. This is their talent. This is their background. This is their skill. Watch with eager interest because I think it fits with you. And immediately upon completion of that review, let me know. And now I know that we're moving right on. So what do I do next? Next, I do a new member orientation, excuse me, a personal presentation, because now we've got to take these broad concepts and personalize them to the individual. And I can already hear some of you saying, Randy, this is cumbersome. This is a lot. Folks, I'm one of the most prolific enrollers in the home based business arena, and I have been for 3.5 decades. What I'm describing to you works, and it works better than anything I have ever seen. Now, the moment that someone illustrates to me a way to cut a single corner and have it work better, I will adopt it, I'll embrace it, I'll improve it, and I'll call it mine. But until such time as someone proves to me there's a better, easier, more predictable way to get the outcomes we want, I will keep doing that which I have done. I will leverage AI. Now, see, AI is making the script. AI is doing all these things for me. And so this is compressing the amount of time required to get the ultimate result. I can see it happening already. What happens next? Next, I do a new member orientation. That's what we're going through now. However, this is an example of a new member orientation. It's talking to a crowd, teaching you not just what the new member not just doing the new member orientation itself, but teaching you the purposes for it. And so it's about twice as long as it has to be, maybe more than that. But I guide them through the 10 steps. Having guided them through the 10 steps, I now give them a series of assignments to act upon. And so 90-second video, 20-second video, or 20-minute video, or 30-minute video. So this is more, isn't it? 30-minute video to a personal presentation where they can ask questions. This is more, isn't it? Now, no longer talking about what the business is, but talking about how we do the business. This is more, isn't it? And then we invite them to the Blake call once per week, the president's call. This is more, isn't it? And so I've had people ask me so many times in my career, Randy, will you help me close my candidate? No, I will not. And the reason that I will not is because I don't want to be closed, and neither do you. To close somebody means what? It means I'm trying to get them to do what I want them to do for my purpose. It's not what I want to do. I want to identify what other people want to do and help them accomplish it. Now, let's just consider this next thing for a moment. And then after this comes what? Major corporate events and so on. And so every correct activity leads to the next correct activity. Any break in the process leads to a gap that is difficult to recover from. That's the truth. And so now, Randy, will you help me close my candidate? No, I will not. What I will do is guide that candidate through a pattern of activities that will help him or her arrive at whatever is the correct conclusion for them in the shortest possible period of time. That is what I will do. And that is what this process will do. So now On last Wednesday on Blake's corporate session, I promise you there were people on that session who were invited for their first look at LevAI. I know it. I don't fake it. I know it. What was wrong with that? Well, if we were to put a ladder against the wall and we tried to put our foot on the one, two, three, four, five, sixth rung, how do you think we'd do? You think there's a pretty good chance we'd fall down? Is there not a lot better chance that if we put our foot on the first rung and then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth, and then the sixth? And you see this process, I never have to push. I never have to push. I let a person enroll when they want to enroll. Now, there are some people whose personal timing is such, they see this and they say, Randy, let's go. Not very often, but sometimes. Some people, having watched this, sounds great. How do I start? Let's go. Almost everyone. In my case, they've done this, they've done this, they've done this. At the conclusion of the personal presentation, they enroll. Anyone who did not, then at the new member orientation, they enroll. All of them. Then what is this? After they've enrolled, then everything that we're doing upon enrollment, if a person enrolls here, what is this? It's part of step 5, belief building. If they enroll here, what is this? It's part of step 5, it's belief building. If they enroll here, what is this? It is part of step 5, it is belief building. And so the proved and predictable pattern of activities has every part of it has a first, a second, and a third level value to all of it. Well, I haven't even been watching the time. I probably kept you guys tied up here for a long time. That's an hour and 15 minutes. That's a long time to listen to me. I will tell you that, as we stated at the outset, there is no luck and there is no guesswork. If you do the things that I've described to you, if you become skillful at doing these things, there is absolutely no limitation to the magnitude of success that we can have. Now, when we go to step number 4, there's special importance here, learning to know how to use the tool suite, learning how to teach the tool suite to others. But there's importance to all of it. If you're not enrolled yet, enroll. Enroll. If you have enrolled but haven't placed the first order, place the order that's appropriate to you. If you have enrolled and placed the first order, make a commitment. I'm here for 12 months, no matter what. And go down the list. Folks, write it down, say you heard it here first. If you do the things that I've described, your productivity, not just in this business, but in other things that you do, will go up, because these processes and principles would apply to a whole lot of things that we do in our life. Now, the person that I met with yesterday, who is not a member yet, she'll be one today. As she already said, I'd like to enroll today when I get there. The person that I enroll today probably will become a major figure in our company. If I had to guess, I would guess she'll become a major figure in our company. You'll be introduced to her over the course of the next few days. She's a big, big personality. There's a lot of prominence. Um, I invested 36 hours probably. Well, no, that's not true. Over a course of 36 hours, I invested 10 or 11 hours in fostering that relationship to get it to this point. Is that not a good use of 36 hours? I've got some folks who are almost being resentful of the fact that they can't just send somebody a link and have them act upon it. Not the way life works, folks. Invest a little bit of yourself into developing the relationship. And if you're investing a bit of yourself into the development of the relationship, then don't let it be vague and ambiguous, but engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities. Then don't just tell a person how to do it with them. And that is what will create the outcome you're looking for. She's on her way here. She's bringing her little boy to play with mine. We're going to go down to the beach and we're going to create a business strategy and we're going to set this process in motion. I encourage you all to do likewise. My very final comment for all of us, notice I said us, that's inclusive of me. Measure the results of a day this way. Did I personally enroll somebody? If I did, it was a good day. No matter what else happened, did I personally enroll somebody? It was a good day. Let that be the first target for all of us and let everything else be secondary to that. Everybody have a fantastic day. I appreciate your participation. What I want to do is help you accomplish what you want to accomplish, whatever it is. And I am hopeful, very, very hopeful, that this content has been of value to you. See you along the way. Bye-bye.